Some of you watching this list are planning on visiting these spots for yourselves, but as far as this next one goes, you're gonna have a tough time. Takakanonuma, Greenland, is a widely known part of Japan's history, but as far as the exact location goes, the government have done a pretty good job of keeping info under wraps. Even if you do manage to find the coordinates, going there might not be the best idea. Not only is the park in the Fukushima province, but the park itself is a death trap full of rusting tracks, ride cars, and exposed metal that could be deadly in the dark. Not only that, but the place is constantly foggy, making it easy to lose your way between the Ferris wheels and roller coasters. It also has a pretty terrifying story attached to it about a British tourist who apparently snuck in years after the demolition date. He took a ton of pictures of the rides, the show buildings, and even the snack vendors, but when he got home, all the pictures had been mysteriously deleted. Only one remained, showing the gateway into the park covered in fog, but if you find the picture zooming in, we'll give you a whole other side of the story. Okay, here's our first honorable mention. It's kinda hard to make a place called Joyland scary. I mean, the name itself is about as happy and non-threatening as it gets. If you were to go there now, you'd have a hard time finding anything that inspired that name. There's no creepy mystery here and no accidental deaths due to the rides. The story's simple. The park opened in 1949 and ran until 2003. But as more and more people flocked to the bigger and more well-known parks, Joyland made less and less money. Eventually, it just had to close, and even the townspeople around it didn't have the heart to try and bring it back. Go there now, and it's a pretty interesting look into the past. Reels of tickets lay on the floor with abandoned vintage roller skates, and there are all sorts of old-timey stalls and games to play, like skee ball and knock out the stars. There's even a huge wooden roller coaster that's one of the last of its kind, although looking at the state it's in, I wouldn't expect it to last much longer. Our second honorable mention. I know the goal of this list is to show you some truly scary abandoned theme parks, but the pictures we have of this one are actually more beautiful than frightening. The story of Nara Dreamland in Japan is actually pretty interesting, since it was originally supposed to be Japan's version of Disney. Walt Disney even consulted on the park, and there were plans to integrate some famous Disney characters into the rides. In the end though, the two park makers just couldn't agree, and Dreamland ended up a successful park that was eventually destroyed by people's interest in the famous mouse. Now it sits abandoned, but the trees and plants growing over the pastel rides and roller coasters actually look pretty awesome. In fact, the teacup ride, which isn't really cool unless you're 5 years old or younger, looks better now than it ever did before if you ask me. Like I've said already, most of the abandoned theme parks on this list are scary because they're so old and no one has dared to ride the rides for decades. However, this one is so recent that some of you watching this might have even been there, and if you have, let us know in the comments. I'm talking about Six Flags New Orleans, which was once part of a huge chain of popular theme parks, but was destroyed in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina struck the area. I mean, it's over 10 years later now, and many homes and even neighborhoods haven't recovered from the flooding, so it makes sense that fixing up a theme park wouldn't be at the top of their list. Still, leaving the park there abandoned has created some pretty creepy scenes, as well as some downright dangerous ones. Alligators now swim through the dirty swimming pools and flooded attractions, and the colorful show buildings are rotting and filled with debris on the inside. Aside from the graffiti, the place seems totally empty and hollow, but the slides and roller coasters are still standing as if someone might ride them again one day.